ValveTime.net.
Hi, and welcome to the grand finale of the ValveTime news for 2015, where we'll recap all the latest holiday-themed goodness regarding Valve and the community. With Christmas only a few days away, Valve were breaking out all the stops before the big day arrives, with this week focused mainly on the introduction of the seasonal updates for Team Fortress 2 and Dota 2. Since most of you care way more about TF2 than Dota 2, we'll start there. The Tough Break update for TF2 sees Miss Pauling take a state-mandated vacation for the first time ever, forcing the classes to take up contracts on their own in her absence. The new Tough Break contract, which can be purchased for $5.99, gives players access to a total of 26 contracts, most of which are offered on a basis of 2 a week, one on Sunday and one on Wednesday. These contracts, although similar to the ones in the Gunmetal campaign, feature new variations with focuses on specific weapons and game modes rather than just maps and classes. Once a contract is completed, players are given access to one of a number of new weapon skins across 4 potential themed collections, shown here, which also level up the new contract stamp, which tracks stats and points in the same way as Gunmetal's contract coin. And while we're on the subject of cosmetics, 3 new taunts were also added to the Manco store, including the hilarious Man Robics, the cringeworthy Bad Pipes, and the exhausting Bucking Bronco. 4 new maps were also introduced, all of which are community created. They include PL Snowy Coast, CP Vanguard, KOTH High Pass, and CTF Landfall, which, as you can tell, feature numerous game modes and environmental themes, hopefully meaning there's something for everyone. There were more direct gameplay changes than just a few new maps, however, as a whole bunch of weapon modifications were implemented for all of the game's classes, some of which have proven controversial for some areas of the community. So far, the update doesn't seem particularly festive, does it? Well, the Tough Break cosmetic crate introduced alongside the update does feature a bunch of Christmas and winter themed items, with the new Smithmas 2015 mystery gift boasting more holiday goodies once opened. While Team Fortress 2's update was definitely sizable, Dota 2's Balance of Power patch was large on an entirely other level. The update's 2 main focal points were the introduction of Zet the Arc Warden and the 6.86 balance patch. As an agility hero and a controller of energy, Zet's powerful abilities allow him to damage and slow enemies over several seconds, buff the attack speed and evasion of his allies in a small field, and spawn deadly wraiths. His Tempest Double ultimate creates an exact clone of Arc Warden, which is able to be microed in exactly the same way as the real version, including all abilities and items, all of which use separate cooldowns. The 6.86 balance patch itself begins with rather huge overhauls to numerous areas of the in-game map, including new stairs in and around the Radiant Jungle and Secret Shop, the addition of 2 new large neutral camps close to the Secret Shops, adjusted tower positions, and significantly changed pathing around the entrances to the river and off lanes. The new map was joined by the introduction of a new Arcane Ruin, which reduces cooldown and mana costs for 50 seconds and 4 new items. They include Fairy Fire, which grants extra damage, Dragon Fang, which gives strength, attack speed, and damage while extending the range of ranged heroes, Ether Lens, boosting mana and magic resistance, and Iron Talon, an armored claw capable of providing extra armor and helping the user cut down trees. While Oracle, Terrorblade, and Earth Spirit have been added to the competitive scene via Captain's Mode, Faceless Void, Riki, Lone Druid, and Doom were initially removed due to having at least one of their abilities replaced. Although all 5 heroes are now back in Captain's Mode, the true extent of these new abilities has not yet been fully explored, with each of them drastically changing the way their respective hero is able to be played. Death Prophet's new Soul Siphon allows her to slow and drain the health of enemies, while Doom's Infernal Blade attack finally gives him a much-needed mini-stun and plenty more damage over time. Faceless Void's Time Dilation allows him to halt the countdown of enemy cooldowns, while Lone Druid's Savage Roar forces his opponents to flee towards their fountain at high speed. Riki's new Tricks of the Trade ultimate introduced the largest and most influential changes to any of these heroes, allowing him to disappear from the battlefield before slashing at any enemy heroes in a selected area of effect, with his Backstab passive merging with permanent invisibility and with Blink Strike returning to a regular ability which doesn't rely on charges. There's a massive number of gameplay changes for most of the other heroes in the game elsewhere in the changelog, but we're not going to outline any of them here, mainly because we'll be here for over 2 hours just like Purge. Although heavily gameplay focused, the Balance of Power update certainly isn't short on cosmetic items and content, with major new additions including Zeus's literally flashy Arcana set, the new Desert Terrain alternate map type, an unexpected desert music pack, and a new Ultra Shadow setting, allowing players to take even more advantage of Source 2's potential for enhanced visual quality. If you're not exactly a serious player, but you still want something Dota related to play over your Christmas break, you could always check out the new desert-themed Colosseum map, or the redesigned version of the original Haunted Colosseum map, both of which were uploaded to the Steam Workshop alongside the Balance of Power update. You can of course access both of these maps through the newly tweaked user interface, which features new pages and sections for displaying in-depth gameplay stats, a separate armory, new store page, and the ability to create private chat channels. There's honestly a hell of a lot more details to check out over in the full Balance of Power announcement page, so head on over if you've missed anything. While the TF2 and Dota 2 holiday updates have been mostly well received, the same cannot be said for Counter-Strike Global Offensives, which brought about even more bad news this past week. After the R8's significant nerf the week prior, this week saw Valve publicly apologize for the recent mistakes they made while attempting to change the way rifles and pistols are used. A rather lengthy blog post explains how attempts to make the weapon more effective without having to just spray and pray failed in many ways, with the community finding the significant changes more frustrating than helpful. Later in the post, Valve discuss how they came to the decision to roll back the significant changes to their pre-winter update state, effectively removing another of the update's major features. At this stage, the end result of the update is barely recognizable against the original announcement post, but it's good to see Valve aren't too heavy-handed when it comes to this sort of thing and are actually willing to accept when mistakes are made, something we definitely can't say of numerous other developers. Although we weren't really expecting to hear any more about the HTC Vive until the first few weeks of 2016, we were surprised to hear of a recent possible leak over on the Vive's official HTC website, where those two images were unearthed. As you can probably tell, these images likely reveal what the second generation of the Vive will look like, meaning the version we'll probably see released to markets in April 2016. Closer analysis reveals a possible harder and more firm head strap likely to support the new headphones seen on the sides of the device, a large central camera which could possibly be used for augmented reality experiences, and an overall more rounded design. The proprietary wand controllers have also changed significantly, with the top of the device now featuring a hole in the center, several more tracking sensors, a more standout thumb pad, lower side grips, less pronounced buttons down the center of the controller, and thinner rear triggers alongside a smoother, more finalized body and an HTC logo. There also appears to be a quartet of white lights on the back of the controller beneath the triggers, likely to be used to track battery power, something which proves a really tedious problem on the current developer kit. It's possible the images may be fake or that the design may change somewhat, but we're actually rather confident that this is, in fact, the new version we'll see unveiled sooner rather than later. Considering the original Vive was recently named Innovation of the Year by website Popular Science, it's easy to see why people can't really wait for the HTC Vive's next big reveal early in January. While we're on the subject of the Vive and VR, Valve's Ken Birdwell recently confirmed in an interview with Game Informer that a traditional Half-Life game on a VR headset would fatigue players in, quote, 5 minutes, end quote, likely causing dizziness, nausea, and more. As someone who has tried both the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive numerous times at conventions, this show's writer, Nick, has been pushing this idea around for a while, as even early experiments with porting Half-Life 2 to the Rift proved sitting experiences do not gel well with action-focused games, with the mismatch between visual data from our eyes and balancing information from our inner ears acting as just one of the many reasons why almost everyone experiences motion sickness of some kind in these kinds of experiences. With that said, Ken did mention that although they likely won't ever create a traditional Half-Life game in virtual reality, there's no reason why they can't use the fantastic world and its fiction in a more original setting more suitable to VR. Some ideas that instantly spring to mind include lab work within Black Mesa, working as a member of the Overwatch at one of the Combine's security facilities, or maybe even a Gordon Freeman praying simulator. As with most things Half-Life, we likely won't see or hear anything about a potential VR-focused title for at least a little while, but this kind of insight is always welcome. Don't forget, December 22nd, 2015 should see the start of this year's Steam holiday sale, which should last until around January 4th, giving you plenty of time to pick up some deals. Even though this episode likely won't release until after the sale has started, it was written and recorded sometime before, meaning we're not actually sure what this year's special gimmick will be, if anything, but we can't wait to find out. In the past. And that'll bring us to the end of our final episode of 2015. We're currently in the process of getting a bunch of other content ready to release before the end of the year, but this is the last time you'll hear from our YouTube channel before Christmas Day, so make sure you enjoy the holiday season as best you can. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to follow our social media pages to catch the latest upcoming content as soon as it's released. Thanks for watching, and bye for 2015.